Okay, we're going to jump right into it today. By the way, welcome back to the channel. My voice might be bouncing in here. I'm inside the back seat of the car. We're going to replace the fuel pump today, along with the strainer filter that goes on it. So, if you follow this channel, my last video, you see that the back seats have been taken out, and this is the cover on the driver's side here. We're going to find the panel where the fuel pump hides, and basically all the tools you're going to need today is we may need some needle nose pliers, some type of scraper, or this is a trim puller. I use this because it's heavy duty, and a Phillips screwdriver. I'm using a dielectric one. So first things first is disconnect your battery from your car. We still have fuel in the tank in this car. I wasn't able to drain it, so we're just going to work carefully and make sure everything's ventilated in your car, all the windows are open. When doing this, of course, have some shop towels standing by. If you have some soak-up mat, that's even better. I'm out of it, so the shop towels are going to have to do for me. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is we got to pop this panel off, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use the puller tool for that, or scraper, and kind of just go around the edge. I might be able to do it by hand. There you go. So just be very careful with this, not to pull it. The electric wires, don't pull them. It kind of gives you access to the plug that goes to the fuel assembly here. So it's just a push-in tab, and hopefully my tab doesn't break. This is where the pliers may come into play for you to push that tab in, and just out like this. So this whole piece here, you can inspect everything, make sure it looks like this one's very clean, so nothing's gone into this. So just some pre-inspection there. Let's set this to the side. Okay, so we need to get these screws off here. We're going to remove two of these first. We need to get to the fuel line to disconnect it here. I know a Phillips screwdriver might work. On my case, they're way too tight, so it gives you the other option to use an 8mm socket. I'm just going to use a 1/4" ratchet and see if I can get them off. Again, it might be a good idea to have a magnet close by, and luckily for me, this Phillips screwdriver has a small magnet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it there. I don't want to lose any of these screws and go searching for it on top of the fuel tank. So I'll just keep this nearby just in case I drop one. Alright, so this plate comes out here. And next we have the fuel supply line that goes to the front of the car to the engine bay. So we're going to take this off. It's got these little two clips here. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to squeeze them. We'll push in toward the fitting and then out. It should snap right out. Okay. This is where you be careful. There's still a little bit of fuel pressure in my case. So that's where your mats come into place. Or your shop towels. Soaking mat's way better than shop towels, but just something to watch out for. It's always good, I forgot to mention, is you go to the fuel door and release the fuel cap, your filler cap, just to kind of release the pressure inside the tank as well. Make sure I soak up anything that just slightly came out. It's not much. Okay, so at that point, okay, when that's done, I'm just gonna go back around. There's several more screws to get out. I'm counting all together. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm gonna slowly break those loose first. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break them loose with this, and I'm gonna go back with the Phillips since it's magnetized. And I think that's a little bit safer to work with, so I don't lose any of these small screws. They're real tiny. So I'll go back with this magnetic. See if we can just slowly lift them out. Just like that. Does anyone else besides me like the smell of gas? Or am I just weird that I like the smell? Just weird. I just always like the smell of gas. I'm sure it's not good for me. But, something about it. Anyway. Alright, so now I got the line here. I'm going to just put this line slightly out of the way. Tuck it down here. Always inspect your components like this clip. It's a cheap little plastic clip, but it's extremely important not to have a fuel leak with that clip. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give it a slight wiggle. Let's see if I can wiggle it out first. This one seems stuck on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little pry bar here, or trim remover piece, and just condense it here on the sides. Then I'm going to grab here in the middle, and I'm going to bring this straight up. Now don't yank it out. Okay, so this lid came off. So clean that up, put that aside. Alright, so it's a whole assembly. So like I was saying, don't yank it out because we don't want to destroy the fuel delivery system on here, because it still works, and if you have to replace that, it's fairly expensive. What I do is just kind of gently take your time, turn it like so, let it drain a little bit. Of course, remember we have our shop towels here. Let this drain. Just let it drip. Now, like I said, there's nothing wrong with this car. This car runs fine, but this is part of the reliability on it. I'm sure this pump was put in there in 96 or 97 when it was built. So even though it's a Denso part, you know, it's part of that reliability thing that we're aiming for on this car. Okay, so now I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the paper, and I'm going to take it over to the bench. I'll meet you there. Okay, I got it on the bench here. These are the areas that I wanted to be careful with. Was the float switch. If you have to replace any of this, for some reason it's very expensive to replace unless you find a used one that works. Ours works, so I won't be replacing it, nor do I want to damage it. So we leave that there. Another thing to look at here is this filter system here. I guess it's back pressure. And it has a I guess like a cardboard filter in there. Don't touch this, so we can avoid this guy here. All the work we're going to be doing is on this side here. We're going to disconnect this electrical cable here, and we're going to take off the fuel delivery hose right here that meets the main piece here, and then of course our fuel pump and our strainer here. So we're going to replace all this here. One thing to look at is your seal. that goes around the top here. Inspect it, make sure it's not cracked. I've already gone through and looked at this one. It's still perfect condition. It's not dry. It's still very elastic, so I won't be replacing it. Like I said, it almost looks new. It's amazing. So let's see what we have in the box. Of course, it's going to be a Denso. I don't know if there's a part number on here. Oh, there's the part number if you need it. Okay. So let's open this box up to see what they gave us. So they can give us a new strainer. Here, instructions. We won't need these. It's just for different applications. Put that aside, set that aside. Some of the new hardware here that you may or may not need. I know we're going to need this fuel line here. So keep in mind we might have to trim this to fit that one. We'll take this apart, we'll measure it up, and we'll trim it as necessary. Gives you new clips, which is awesome. Some other little hardware, some O-rings, which I don't think we need on this one. So we'll find out once we take everything apart. Down here below, we have the new fuel pump. Yeah, that's it. That's all that's in that box. So if I can open this bag, there we go. Wow. Okay, so it's just heat shrinked all the way through. Bear with me, folks. My fingers had fuel on them. Okay, so there we go. It's just standard fuel pump. So we're going to remove this piece here. We don't need that. Okay, we don't need this guy here too. So, all right. So we'll set this over here for now. Make sure. Well, I'll set it over here. Make sure it doesn't roll off. And we're going to start removing the items off of the old one. First thing is this clip. See if I can twist it and do it by hand first before I. Yeah, it's real easy. Just push and pull out. Next thing is I'm going to remove this top hose here, the clamp. Use some of those pliers. So I'm going to slide it off here. I'm going to put it right in the middle, so we're not going to use this hose no longer. I'm going to grab this and wiggle it. So we're going to sure it breaks loose here. Okay, then I'm gonna go on this bottom side and see if we cannot release this fuel pump gently off of here, just like so. Very important not to destroy this rubber piece. The kit does not come with this rubber piece, so in our case, ours is still very good. It's not cracked or anything, so we need this definitely to put this all back together, or things are going to rattle and metal is going to be hitting metal. So it's very important that we make sure that's in good shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to pull this pump out like that. Oops. Okay, so I got it out, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this hose off, this clamp off the hose down the middle. And all I'm just doing is I'm going to save this fuel pump because I know it works and it's just part of the whole system. I'll put it in the box, catalog it, and we still have a replacement part just in case something happens with the brand new one for some reason. So there's no use for me throwing this away. It's always good to keep parts. I'm going to keep all the parts that are still good for replacement parts. So depending on what I'm going to do with the car, I'm still undecided what I'm going to do with it after we're totally done restoring it. So I'll set that aside. Bring in the new fuel pump. I'll open up this kit here. And I'm going to get the hose. That hose here. I'll get the new clamps. These two here, we don't need any of this other stuff. We will need this guy here. That's to hold on to the strainer. Okay, so I'm just going to use some simple razor blade to cut this hose slightly down. So it's not going to be very much. It's about right there. Make it a nice clean cut. Okay. Make sure not to slice your finger off. Just a little bit, not a whole lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and assemble it onto the fuel pump first. If it's a little bit tight, you can put a little bit of silicone grease at the end of it to slip it on. Especially when we get up to here, it might be a little bit difficult to kind of twist it on there. You want it to kind of slide in and make it easy. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Then we're going to put the new clamps on here. Slide them in here. Next thing is to do the strainer here, and it does give us a new little holding clip. So I'm going to put that on. Oops. Get that back on. It only goes in one way, so you can't really confuse it. You just kind of push it on. Okay, and then get your little clip here, and this clip is going to go on here. So I'm going to press that down a little bit, so I'm going to get my pliers. Just give me a little bit something to push it a little bit further down. There we go. I think. Get this little tap without breaking it. There we go. Okay. Oh, maybe if I put it on the right way. Here we go. Yeah, it's going to be a tight one. There we go. Hold me on those pliers. You just split it in half like this. Get on the edges and just push. Like so. It'll get it locked in there. So now we know this guy is not going anywhere. Except for my hose clamps keep on coming off. Let me go see what I found with my grease. We're going to get some grease and just slightly grease up this area here. And so make the install a little bit easier. Alright, so I'm going to get a little bit of grease here. Just very little. Doesn't have to be much at all. And I'm just going to kind of rub it over here. Very, very little. I just kind of want it at the tip just to kind of help us guide that hose on. Okay, so that should be good there. So we're going to get our new one here. I'm going to put this rubber piece back in. Just snap right in, like so. Move this wire off to the side. Grab the whole assembly. We're going to kind of twist it in here first. If you don't put grease here, you're going to understand here in a minute why it's kind of important to get it, because I'm trying to be gentle getting this thing on first of all. And we may have to twist it afterwards too. So I'm going to get my pliers to help me. Just kind of coax it up. There we go. Now I'm going to move the fuel pump over. I guess it can still go further up. There we go. So it's going to be a little bit of a snug fit, so you're going to have to play with it to kind of get it where you want it, especially when you start getting this bottom side on. Destroyed this rubber piece down here. You can tell right away that you have to adjust the hose as much as you possibly can to make it fit. So that was the reason for the grease. So once you get this thing tightened up, you're going to see where you kind of need some adjustment. We still need it down here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this thing back apart. Okay, realign this piece back in. Let's see if I can get this fuel pump to set up a little bit higher. Like so. And then let's see if we can get this piece down. So it's kind of, you're going to have to pull it a little bit. Let me see if it's easier to put it like this. It might be easier if we go this route. Let's try it. Oh, come on. There we go. Finally. The next step is what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to grab this hose here. Make sure if there's any way I can kind of pull it down. I'm going to make sure we have good contact between the two pieces here. Make sure that hose is not kinked. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over and then clamp, and I accidentally took it off, but it's okay. So I'll turn this around here. Make sure we get this clamp where we need it. Oh, right there. And this one, the same thing. Oh, come on. Here we go. We're clamp there. And don't forget your electrical fitting here. Just clips back in. That's it. So if you wanted to, you can zip tie this wire off this side here, but I think we're going to be okay where everything's at. I don't think it's going to shake around and scrape anything, so I'm not too worried about it. Might move this one a little bit over. Use your best judgment. That's pretty much it. We're ready. It's ready to go back in the car. Okay, we're back in the car here. I got all these cover pieces cleaned up. So, both of them, make sure you get all the grime off of it. So now we're going to gently lower the pump back into the tank, starting with the float assembly first. And just like removal, just slowly kind of work your way around it. It should drop in just like so. Nice and easy. Kind of line everything up, remembering where everything went. Like the fuel line went perfectly straight toward the front of the car. Kind of get that in there. Make sure the seal is lined up. And it should not move after you got it perfectly set. Okay, so everything's in there. You get the hold down plate. See if I actually remember which way this went as well. I surely hope it went. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it went this way, right? Alright, so I'm going to line it up with the holes here. I'm not going to tighten anything down yet. I'll put one bolt just to kind of hold this in. Bolt, screw. It's tiny, it's called a screw. So I'm going to screw that one down just to kind of hold it in place for us. While we get everything else done, I'm going to put one more on this side. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm just gonna put it in there just to hold the plate down. Then I'm gonna get our fuel line that we had over to the side and make sure that this plastic clip is lined up to where they meet onto the line here, the sides. Like I said, if this thing is damaged on yours, you know, it cracked off, you're gonna have to find a new one. I think the parts stores probably carry these. So just be careful with that. You need that to clip in here snugly, or we're going to have a leak. I'm going to slip this over, and it should clip like that. You can test it, and that's it. The next part is you could leave this cover off for now. We're going to you can plug in the fuel pump harness, and this is the time where you want to go, and we're not going to do it on this video. This is the time to go and circle the ignition off and on to get the fuel pump primed. I would circle on and off at least 4 times, and then go ahead and start the car. Just paying attention back here to visually check and make sure you do not have a leak. And so before you button everything up, just make sure. We don't want no leaks. Might as well have it all off, you know, just in case there is one, you can figure out where it's coming from. So the next part is I'm going to leave this off here. I'm going to put this protector plate on top, like so. I'm going to start putting all these screws back in. I'm going to go back with the 1/4-inch socket to make sure these things are all tied down very well. The reason you want to put a little bit of torque on it using the wrench is because that gasket sits on a ridge inside the tank, and so the gasket kind of smashes this way, and that's what seals it completely. But tying these down in a cross pattern, just make sure we kind of get the load all even, almost like installing a wheel on the car. So I'm going to kind of do a cross pattern. think we're good there. Next is the seal underneath. Sometimes it still remains pliable. You know, this keeps all the smell out of the inside of the car. So what I'm going to do, just for safety, is I'm going to use a glove first. I'm going to use this 3M. So you can see it here. Oop. 3M. It's a window weld. It's a urethane. This is what I'm going to use. This will seal it for good. Unfortunately, the next time that we have to access this area, you're going to have to use a blade to kind of get through it. But this is what I got lying around. This one I'm going to use. Should work just fine. We don't need very much. Hopefully, there we go. I'm not going to need very much, so that's why I'm wearing gloves. This stuff is nasty. And I'm going to put it around this rim here. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, but just going to slide it around just this rim here. Make sure not to get your carpet dirty at this point. Seal that around there. I think we're good. Throw those away. Make sure I plug in my harness. Make sure it snaps in. And then I'm going to place, they have a little marker here where this cover goes. So I'm going to place it on that marker, suck it down, I'm going to wiggle it a little bit, and I'm happy with it. I'm going to press. Down that tab that bent up. Okay, and that's it. We're done. As long as you have no leaks and everything's working fine, we're done here. You can put the seat back on, and that's the fuel pump. Stay tuned to the next video. Still not sure which one I'm going to do yet, but subscribe, like this, give me some suggestions if I'm doing something different, or you want to see something done differently. Let me know. Thanks for watching though. See you later.